Dr. Daniel Daves here with Basics for Success, and the US dollar has tipped itself in the wrong direction. Before we go any further, we need to go through a disclaimer and risk disclosure. We're going to assume that if you go any further in this video recording, you have stopped the slides and read each one in particular. See you in just a moment after the risk disclaimer.
I don't know what I'm doing, but I sure know that I've sinned, hanging on the precipice with 1,000 debts to pay. And I've made up my mind, I ain't waiting for more signs. Hear that story ends. Here I'm born again. They told me keep searching for an answer. They never seem to mind till you think you're sure. Oh Lord, I pray you give me strength to bear this cross, 'cause I know what this means. It won't be long, they're calling me extreme. Here I go against all I've known. Though I'm down and out, I know I'm not alone. Though I've drifted far from shore, you're on the boat. And I've made up my mind, I ain't waiting for more signs.
All right, we're finished through the risk disclosure, and welcome again to Basics for Success. Let's take a quick look. I want to remind you, I am a giant tracker, and that means that we're looking for big money, where the big governments, where the big institutions are putting their money, whether they will support their buys or whether they will let the buys drop. And right now, let's take a quick look at the US dollar versus Canadian. I told you last week in our little update, right here at this bottom area, we had a crucial area with this red line that we see here. This is a weekly chart of the foreign exchange, United States dollar versus Canadian. And this, according to our trade system, which is a very highly probable system, this red line here was the critical line that we needed to see our institutions, we needed to see the banking industry, and we needed to see the most powerful institution in the world, the United States government, uphold their US dollar at this line. Today, we had a drop through the line. And what that means is, well, it's not good news for the US dollar. It's not good news for anyone holding US dollars. When we tipped under this area right here, this was a basic warning sign saying that those who used to believe in this dollar, up, no longer believe in it, and are no longer willing to sustain these levels. Now I want to back up just a moment and show you the size of what's happened to the US dollar here. Since back in October, November of 2008, the dollar has been climbing, and this huge explosion upwards was what I considered a market manipulation, because this happened on the very moment that Congress passed the first big the bailout package. When the bailout package was passed, and now imagine this. This is the weight of the US dollar against Canadian. So either the US dollar is getting stronger or the Canadian is getting stronger. And we just diluted our dollar. When Congress passed the bill and the President signed it into action, we said that we were going to take a half full glass of Coca-Cola, and we were going to dilute it by filling it with water. So now we have a full glass half Coke, half water, diluted, and we're going to try to sell it for more money. Well, that's exactly what happened here. When Congress bailed out the institutions and did the big package that everyone screamed about, the value of the dollar went up. Now, that's not possible, but it is possible. Anything's possible in the market. And so that's what happened here. The dollar shoots up from basically from a 1-to-1 scenario all the way to $1.30. So the U.S. dollar became about 30% more powerful than the Canadian dollar because of our reckless actions. Well, that doesn't wash. And when that happened, we knew that the move was up. The move was up in the dollar, and that it was time to start buying the dollar, buying. But as soon as the support for this reckless move ended, that's when we start exiting and getting our rear ends out. Well, it just ended today. Support just failed massively here today. So what does that mean? Well, it's a very deep and complex issue. First of all, let me talk about our system. Our trading system is about, with this type of trade, we're between 80 and 90% successful on calculating this. So this little tick down underneath means this, that before we go and break any new highs, up, we should be breaking new lows, and we have an 80 to 90% success rate on this number right here, and that is $1 for dollar. In other words, before we go up and break new highs, we have an 80 to 90% chance of dropping all the way down to $1 for dollar. That this move has just announced it's over, and the drop should soon come all the way back to $1 for dollar. What does that mean? It means that hyperinflation for the US dollar is about to show itself on the charts. Okay? We've been waiting for this time now. Let me show you with our system, with this tick down under, that doesn't mean now that the US dollar is just going to fall straight down and it's on its way today. What that means is that we have a CIA, Central Intelligence, giant tracking capacity to show now what should happen with a pretty high probability. This should turn back around and start heading up a little bit. Now, by the way, when this heads up, typically the stock market heads down a little bit. Okay, so the market's been heading up and the dollar's been heading down. And now, if this does tick back up, the stock market should head down a little bit. Okay? Now, this should show you some powerful rhythm procedures, because if this heads up, we call this an exhaustion run. It's a run back up where those who are ignorant and unknowledgeable and do not understand the probabilities, they're buying into this thing, not knowing what they're about to get trapped into. And so this move back up would be what we call the exhaustion run. That typically could last anywhere from 1 to 12 weeks. So let's say sometime in the summer, this should rocket back, or come back up, not rocket, but just kind of creep back up, and at any time it could begin to drop and hit new lows. Now, when this moves up, the stock market may recede back a little. When this moves down, and if it moves down hard, the stock market could rally and crank up. It's important to know, though, if our U.S. dollar today, now see, just not long ago, just not many weeks ago, the U.S. dollar was at 1.3. It was 1.3 Canadian dollars per U.S. dollar. But now it's 1.15 Canadian dollars per every US dollar. And if this thing comes back up and fails lower, it will be 1 Canadian dollar to 1 US dollar, just the way it was back before the big explosive manipulation run.